Hello, I'm Chris Williams from Read Comics They're Bad For You, the name of my YouTube channel. Or if you're watching this on BitChute, the name of my BitChute channel is Comic Freak. Today I'm reading an article. Women are saving Star Wars. Women are saving Star Wars, and, well, this article is going to be a trudge to go through, and we're going to rip into it as well. Star Wars has women in it, and apparently for many that's a problem. No, it isn't. But you are making it a problem, and people are beginning to hate you for it. Well, everybody like you, to be exact. Who go on endlessly about misogyny and the like. You might, if you like it at all, like me, be surprised by this woman have been a mainstay of the franchise since its inception over 40 years ago. Leia was never a simple love interest, a courageous rebel leader. She risked her life time and time again. She wasn't just a damsel in distress who needed to be rescued, but a well-drawn character who consistently demonstrated her strength, will, and determination. But as Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker looms on the horizon, and the Mandalorian streams on Disney+, the story on the ground is very different. Women, so seemingly legions of fans proclaim, are ruining Star Wars. No, they're not. We just don't want your agenda politics. Women have always been part of Star Wars, but you and people like you insist on making badly created female characters that are nothing but Mary Sues and have nothing relatable about them. And you make all the males into beta males, or basically outright idiots. Star Wars is just one front of a bewildering pop culture war that extends from television to film to video games to sports and beyond, as angry, frustrated men decry the merest presence of a woman with any agency, power, or influence as a forced diversity corruption of something they believe belongs exclusively to them. It's hard to pinpoint exactly when this conversation really took off, but it's probably the most insidious manifestation of a radical misogyny that has, over the last decade, gripped much of the English-speaking world, and it's one that making a radical claim to the companies that produce the media they adore stop catering to people other than us. There's been, over the last 6 years, mountains and mountains written on the cultural crisis at play, and I'm not an expert on Star Wars fandom. I'm not going to rehash them. Business is my specialty, so I want to talk about this situation from that perspective. If that was true, you'd acknowledge what the Disney movies are just badly written pieces of trash, and you knew that no company could possibly survive on that alone. Whether it be Star Wars, sports, or some other fandom, let's examine the central claim that unites all of these community revolts, that real fans are being ignored and abandoned or rejected in favor of women and people of color. Real fans implicitly being white men. There is a degree of truth to that, though only a degree. These are institutions that have been overwhelmingly marketed to and manufactured for boys and men. Sports has been a mainstay of male culture for generations, and geek fandom such as it exists has been similarly dominated. None of my girlfriends growing up were particularly into Marvel Comics. For one example, we had our own pop culture institutions we were expected to follow. The writer of this article later on tries to make the point that companies should appeal to everyone, but that's the thing. These are genre pictures and the like. They're made for people who enjoy this certain thing. If you try to make them for everybody, then they'll lose the flavor that those original fans like. As the saying goes, if you try to make something that appeals to everyone, you will not please anyone. We'll get back to this subject later on in the video. But the 1970s and 80s were a different world, and mass media didn't exist the way it does now. Dominated by huge multinationals who have spent decades cultivating not only fan bases, but cultural presence, owing in part to some of the very fans who are now angry at their presence. Girls have spent decades falling in love with the same sports shows, comics, and movies as their brothers. It was bound to happen that as media companies built their strategies for engaging with modern audiences, they'd recognize that they couldn't depend solely on the same old fans forever. There's way more money in marketing to boys and girls than boys and boys alone. Your logic is flawed there in many ways. One, boys and girls are different. They don't always like the same thing. Now, yes, there are girls who like Star Wars as well as boys do. But the fact is that you're trying to appeal to everyone, and you're not making a picture that will appeal to anyone. And that's the problem here. Your pictures, like the Star Wars movies, well, the Disney Star Wars movies, just don't appeal to anyone. They're made for everybody, and no one can really get behind them. The characters are Mary Sue's, or they're complete idiots, and therefore no one can enjoy them because they can't connect to them. The pushback, however, is real, vocal, and outright destructive. Kelly Marie Tran, an actress who appeared in 2017's The Last Jedi, was harassed off social media following mountains of abuse and death threats for simply being in the movie. Prior to the film even coming out, the same has happened to countless women sportscasters, from local news right up to ESPN. Fans threatened boycotts of Marvel's Captain Marvel, the aforementioned The Last Jedi, a 2016 Ghostbusters reboot, and on and on and on. The message was directed not only at the individual woman involved, but at the companies themselves. Stand only with us or we won't stand with you. Yeah, we won't stand with you. You don't have to cater to us, but you have to at least respect us, and that's the thing. You don't respect us, and why should we see your movies? Just because your movies are bad, we're expected to go because you're trying to push an agenda policy in it. We don't like those agenda policies. We don't like being talked down to. And here we go for the final bit of this video, so listen up. It's just going to be more bad stuff we've read so far. But the numbers belay the point, and that's what I want people making these decisions and marketing strategies to remember. All of these movies are making billions and billions of dollars. The money is rolling in. New generations of fans are being made right here, right now, with potentially decades of loyalty and purchases. I don't really see that as being real, lady. Ahead of them, the same message that resonated with the 10-year-old boys in 1977 resonate with 10-year-old girls in 2019, that anyone can be a hero and that you can be whatever you want, that you are important and powerful and have a future. You, lady, are just blowing it out of your behind, aren't you? I've used this point before. The only reason these movies are making money like this is because they're basically using the goodwill these movies created. The Disney movies just don't have any of that. They are just pale imitations of the great work that George Lucas and other directors have made. The MCU movies only made this money because they lifted off of the fame and fortune of the Marvel superheroes that had been around for decades. I'm not asking you to be sentimental about it. Through a purely mercenary lens, there's so little to be gained by doubling down on an insular audience rather than embracing the mass of mass media, especially as streaming moves more and more into separate services owned by major conglomerates. You don't want some subscribers, you want them all. And considering that women make up a majority of moviegoers and are far and away the major decision makers in household purchasing decisions, well, it seems like a no-brainer to me. Listen, that's nothing to be proud of. I think the fact that most women are going to movies now is because you've chased away a lot of the men because you keep going on about agenda politics. Women don't really like sports. Yes, there are women that do, but most of them don't. And you don't need to appeal to everyone to make a lot of money, because you're just going to drive away the men, and the women won't care one way or the other because they don't like sports. And the same goes for every other genre you bring up here. If you make something that is for everyone, you're not appealing to anyone. You're not making a good story. You don't have anything anyone would want to go see in this movie. Nothing to gravitate to. No good characters that they would actually like. And if you do have something like that, it's only because it has the goodwill of something like the MCU. All of the movies that came up before Endgame. And that's the only reason that Captain Marvel made any money, let alone $1 billion, because it was coasting on all of the popularity of all the other MCU movies. And then the Star Wars movies. It only got there because Star Wars has been around for 40 years, and they only in all that time made 6 movies before The Force Awakens was made. And you ruined that with The Last Jedi, because what J.J. Abrams started with The Force Awakens, Rian Johnson completely annihilated with the help of Kathleen Kennedy. Because they wanted to push these agenda politics into this movie because they think it appeals to these people, and they are idiotically stupid not to realize that they are killing the cash cow that Bob Iger worked so hard by playing up to George Lucas and pretending to be his friend to buy for Disney, so he could look like when he leaves this company that he was a financial genius. But if they follow your strategy and the current strategy that they're doing themselves, well, no one will want to see Disney movies in the future because they will appeal to no one, and people will hate them because these movies appeal to no one. They want theme park rides that people are supposed to go everywhere. But that's the thing. Movies aren't supposed to be theme park rides. They're supposed to be movies. They're supposed to make you feel something. And these movies, they do not. Movies with this SJW politics. If you like this video, subscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed because YouTube is going around unsubscribing people. I mean that they're doing a subscriber purge right now, so make sure you're still subscribed. If you're watching my videos but you have not subscribed, please subscribe to me. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Read Comics They're Bad For You, then go over to BitChute and subscribe to my BitChute channel, Comic Freak. Hit that bell for notifications, hit that like button, and leave some comments down below. And if you could you please share this video? Share it on Twitter and share it on Facebook. Share it anywhere you think it would do the most good, because YouTube is not going around promoting their own YouTube creators anymore, and it would really help me if you could please share this video. Now listen closely, it's plug-in time again. Keep checking back in future videos for more information on my own upcoming independent comic book Scumdogs. I'm Chris Williams, and I'll be back again tomorrow with another video or review.